Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Bloke in a Bar, the crispest, smoothest, most Australian drink ever. Beautiful beer for the footy. Get home after a long week of work, sit down on the couch, crack open a smooth, crisp Bloke in a Bar. I'm telling you guys, you will not regret it. Go to your local, grab a case, or go to our website, www.bloke.com. We have a store locator. Put in your suburb. It'll show you the nearest store. Or you can either go into your local independent bottle-o and just ask them to order on an ALM or ILG. Just say, hi guys, may you please be polite, always be polite, boys, order some cases of Bloke in a Bar from ALM or ILG. They'll know what you're talking about. And that's nationwide now. We're in Western Australia now. We are also in Northern Territory, South Australia, Victoria, everywhere. So check it out. Grab a Bloke hat from the Bloke shop, bloke.shop, and join the Bloke Club. Unfortunately, the Finch dog, 7-inch Finch, couldn't join us today. Had some personal business that he needed to attend to, but we will continue to move forward. Hopefully, Finchy is all good. In regard, like, nothing's wrong with Finchy, guys. Sorry, said that wrong. Nothing's wrong with Finchy, but you know he's all good. He just had some personal stuff to attend to. But yeah, straight into the footy. After Origin, everyone's back. We're back in the groove of things. What is the biggest news? Speak to me, Matty the Waterboy.
What's going on, Kempy? I mean, I guess it's a sad day for rugby league. It's sad and good personally for Boyd Cordner, but we've lost a true champion of the game today with rugby league. Boyd Cordner officially announcing his retirement. I guess, when was the last game he played? Was that Adelaide Origin game last year?
Yes.
So, yeah, Boyd Cordner announcing his retirement from the game effective immediately.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, it's good in the sense of, like, you just wanted to make sure he did what was best for him. And I think when you saw some of the last few head knocks, you really began to be worried for him, especially with everything going on, with all the latest research. It's so bittersweet. It's so bittersweet. If you ever needed an example of a bloke that's too tough for his own good, it's Boyd Cordner. He was such a leader in so many ways that a lot of fans didn't see. You know, don't get me wrong, the flashy back rowers, they sell tickets. It's incredible to see some of the stuff they do. And Boyd Cordner, earlier in his career, he was the flashy back rower, a great hole runner. But then he developed into a leader and did a lot of the hard yards. And I think, a lot of people didn't see all the little nuances and things he did as an incredible player that he was, and also as a leader he was. I think if there's one play, in my opinion, that sums up Boyd Cordner and also sums up the fact that a lot of fans don't really see all the little things he does, it's the grand final play to go back-to-back. So Keary, Tupu, Latrell and Tedesco, they're the guys you speak about with that play. That incredible play down the short side, Latrell's incredible flick, Tupu back in the inside to Tedesco. They're the guys you speak about. They're the guys that made the play. But if you watch the play before it, when everyone was gassed, when they'd been defending set after set on their line, a lot of people don't appreciate the Roosters' defence in that grand final. They don't actually, yes, there was a 6 again call, whatever, but what actually won them the game was the Roosters' defence. And they'd been defending for set after set. Everyone was gassed. And the bloke who took the hard run to get the quick play the ball, to get them on the front foot, it was Boyd Cordner. And if you go back and watch that play, I'd suggest everyone to go back and watch that play, and you can see no one wants to take the run. Boyd Cordner is the guy. When everyone else has that bad little voice in their head that says, oh, someone else can do the hard run. I'm tired. I've done this in the game. I've done that in the game. And you start giving your excuses as to why it's someone else's job. Boyd Cordner was always the man to make it his job. And that grand final, he was the one that got them the try. His run that found his front, got them to quick play the ball, got them numbers on the short side. It was Boyd Cordner. And I just think that sums up his career. You know, he's doing the plays that don't get the praise from the outside, fans or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of fans that would notice it, but some fans wouldn't. That's Boyd Cordner. He did all of the little gritty things that teammates and clubs appreciate. And he's in my opinion, he's one of the best leaders of the modern era. 3 premierships, back-to-back premierships. He won 3 Origin series as well. So, yeah, absolutely incredible bloke as well. Personal experience with him years ago doing the locker room. Didn't know Boyd at all. Just messaged him, said, hey, mate, can you come on the locker room? He was captain, I think, of New South Wales at the time, or captain of the club. he was a leader at the very least. And he was like, yep, sweet, bro, 100%, came on, did the podcast and everything. And this is when, like, most people didn't even know what a podcast was. And that's how good of a bloke he was. Hadn't met him. New South Wales captain, Roosters captain, and he's just like, yeah, sweet. That's very, very rare for a senior player like that to be willing to come down to some podcast that, like, you don't even know what it is. You know, usually to get them to do anything, it's tough because they've got so many requests to do media. So I've got nothing but respect for Boyd. I think he's still only 29. A lot of people don't realise that. He's relatively young. I think that the best of a bad situation is the fact that he retired, hopefully with his health. You know, his body's okay. He's not too damaged. Hopefully he'll make a relatively full recovery. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be long-term damage when you play rugby league. And that's the price you pay as a rugby league player. But you know, I think it's a smart decision. And we even spoke about it last year. We said, you know, whatever Boyd does, I just want it to be best for his long-term future because he has nothing left to prove. He has no more taxes to pay for glory. He has no more blood he has to give to prove that he's a warrior and a gladiator in the Australian sporting scene. So incredible career. And as I said, guys, go and watch that grand final play that made history for the Roosters, and you'll see it was Boyd Cordner. You'd be. I mean, anyone that's being honest with ourselves, whenever we're fatigued or whatever, the great quote, "Fitness makes cowards of us all." That little voice in your head that says, "Oh, it's not my problem. It's not my run. It's not my duty to take this hit up." Boyd never gave in to that voice. He never fucking gave in to that voice, and that's what made him the toughest of tough people. So massive raps on Boyd Cordner, and I wish him nothing but the best in retirement. I think he's going to be around footy for a long time.
He actually turned 29 just last week. So
that's what I mean. People don't understand. He's relatively young, plenty more years left in him, but I think it's a smart decision. I really do. I think he's got nothing left to prove. Yes, obviously he could have, let's say he kept playing, you know, he misses out on a few big contracts, yes, but when it comes to legacy, when it comes to your life, those few big contracts are not worth the next 50 years of your life. So he's got a great partner. They seem to be in a really good relationship. So he's in a good space. It's not like he's a single 29-year-old that could go off the rails and, do stupid shit. Hopefully, I think he's in a great space, and, he's done what he needed to do as a leader. He achieved what needed to be achieved at the Roosters.
And personal accolades, But by the end of the 2018, you could say he'd done it all. Like, he'd captained his state to Origin, he'd captained his club to a premiership, he'd won a World Cup. Then in 2019, he went and did it again.
Yep. His
resume is pretty underrated. It's pretty stacked. There was literally nothing left he could have achieved.
Oh, absolutely. And for years, I've been like, the amount of people that would watch him and then say watch a Viliame kick out, and that kick out, wow, is incredible, and kick out is incredible. And the only reason why I use the example of kick out is because he's so incredible. It's because everyone can agree kick-out can do some fucking crazy stuff. But Boyd, he got through the shit work. I'm not saying Viliame can't, like he does as well, but Boydie would get, every time you would need a fucking big run, Boyd Cordner would be taking it. And that's why a lot of casual, not casual, I hate the word casual, but they're kind of the outer reaches of rugby league fans. They don't appreciate that because they don't understand. They just see it as a normal run. Oh, yeah, there's a normal run. Yeah, found his front, got a quick play the ball. They only watch the highlights of the guy that broke the line and fucking crazy offloads and that. Whereas Boyd, seriously, an incredible leader in his actions, all through his actions. It also kind of speaks volumes to, him and friends retiring in the same year. Roosters have this like reputation as a glamour club, eastern suburbs, rich areas, all this kind of stuff. But Boyd, even Hargreaves on the weekend, plays 80 minutes in his 250 game. He was incredible. But, Boyd and Friend, like, they were the tough underbelly of the Roosters. They're like this tough underbelly that at any other club, they would be considered like maniac tough guys. But because it's a Roosters, you don't really associate Roosters with tough footy. But they actually are one of the toughest, most relentless clubs in the country. And it was him and Friend leading them.
Well, congratulations to Boyd. Obviously, a great career, and we all wish him well in retirement. Now, that was the big news in the rugby league, but the big news of the round, unfortunately, was Cobra Hetherington's send-off. Do you want to just give your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I hate speaking about this because it's like, It's just so negative. It's just like, and I think everyone's just fucking sick of it. It's just, this is the situation when you don't prepare properly. You don't speak to the players. You don't, and yes, Landis has come out and said that they should have done that differently. So I'm not like rehashing that, as a negative. I'm just explaining, the situation. But when you don't plan and prepare for such a drastic change and put systems in place to protect you from this, scenario, it may not, even if we made the decision earlier in the year with all the months leading up to it to prepare, this still could have happened. But at least you could have said, look, we prepared, guys. We did everything we could to make sure this rule was as clear as possible. But now we don't even have that to lean back on. This was a snap decision in the middle of the year, and we're having super inconsistent calls. You had Kevin Proctor head-hired someone, didn't even get 10 in the bin, just put on a report. And please, don't get me wrong, that was good because he did stick an arm out. It wasn't malicious. It was, footwork got him in the last second. So I'm not sitting here. I don't like people that are like, well, fuck, he should be sent off. Well, that just makes it, that means that you want it to go to the old rules. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is that I liked when the refs put away the whistle. Origin they did as well. That some in the Titans game. But the problem is some refs are putting away the whistle or the sin bin, and some refs aren't. Matter of fact, some refs are like going to the extreme still. Like the Kobe Hetherington, I think we can all agree that was one of the craziest, worst send-offs we've ever seen. How a video ref can't watch that and see the mitigating circumstances that, like, you're watching it in slow-mo. So that's the first error. You're watching it in slow-mo. In normal speed, how do you expect Kobe Hetherington to change his position and know, like, there's no time to react. There's literally no time to react. Now, just put it on report and you move on, in my opinion. If it was 10 in the bin, okay, I guess. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have agreed with it, but to send a man off, it needs to be malicious. It needs to be intentional. It needs to be careless, reckless. That tackle was none of those things. You know what I mean? And so I just thought that was a shocking call. I'd understand if you made that call on the heat of the run and you didn't really let's say the ref just saw it and sent him straight off and you didn't get time to replay it, then you could be like, okay, maybe the ref didn't really realise that he got ankle tapped or whatever, because things happen so quickly. Happens quickly for the ref, happens quickly for the player. But to watch the replay and to see how there is nothing Kobe could have done. There was nothing he could have done. If Harawira and Naira had have been running upright and not been tripped, it would have been a normal shot, good contact, wrestle straight to the ground. It was a really, really poor call. Don't get me wrong, wouldn't have changed the result. So I'm not sitting here saying that. But the problem is now we're in this bizarre situation where a bloke's getting sent off for that, and then you've got you could argue the Kevin Proctor one was worse than the Hetherington one because the only difference is Manu got straight up. Now, if we are judging what we call a head high and what we're going to do about it by the damage caused, then you are promoting players to stay down. Because what you're saying is that you can get head high, and if you don't stay down, we're not going to do that much about it. But if you do stay down, you get a massive advantage, and that is a very slippery slope to go down. And then we had, this, I think it was a Sivo one. Look, I thought that was 10 in the bin. But, Dewey did slip into him. Dewey definitely did slip into it. So in new rules, I think most people will be like, look, it was probably maybe a little bit careless swinging arm. But people that say that should have been a send-off, it's kind of like, well, just because Dewey got taken off the field taken off the field for the rest of the game, I don't think that means it's a send-off because then, again, you're judging something on the damage rather than the context of how it happened. Things happen in footy. You're going to get knocked out and it's going to be unfortunate. That's what the 18th man is for. Yes, it sucks for Dewey. Feel terrible for Dewey. Sucks for the Tigers. But these things are going to happen in footy. And there's no way we're ever going to get around accidental injuries. And so I think 10 in the bin was sufficient for that. I guess I just thought Origin was officiated perfectly. I thought it was perfect, and I thought it was really strange that V'landys came out and said, "We'll see at the elite level, the players know how to tackle," like basically implying that they know how to tackle to the standard that is expected today. And it's just like, come on, man, like, come on. That's just not what happened. The referees put the whistle away because we didn't want to ruin such a spectacle. And I just think that, like, I think the best course of action going forward for the NRL is to just be as quiet, like still do whatever you decided to do, but just be as quiet as you can be about it. Because all that, when Peter V'landys says that, I feel like it puts some fans offside because they're like, come on, bro, like we all know what happened in that situation. It was Origin, the ref put the whistle away. And look, maybe V'landys truly thinks that. Maybe V'landys, that is truly his opinion, that the players were just better. But I just think that all it does is create more headlines, more drama. You know what I mean? Like, it just creates look, it's one of these things. 90% of what V'landys has done, in my opinion, has been fantastic. So you don't knock a guy for one thing, even though it's one wrong. It's been handled, implemented incorrectly. The decision, in my opinion, was a good decision. We need to protect the head. So I think it's just one thing that I disagree with the way it's handled. V'landys has done plenty of other good stuff. So, this doesn't mean that in the future he's going to continue making, poor decisions or whatever. In my opinion. Look, this is just my opinion. I could be fucking totally wrong. Maybe it was done right. I think most people feel that it's been implemented incorrectly. I just don't know. I don't know where the game goes with this consistency thing, because this isn't just a small thing. Like, this is genuinely impacting results of the game.
How do we eliminate all the subjectivity? Because there's no team sport in the world that I can think of that has so much subjectivity in all their calls like rugby league. Like, how can we make it more black and white? Because it's very, very confusing seeing Hetherington get sent and, for example, Proctor only get a penalty. And I don't know if you picked up on this, but when Proctor head-hired Manu and Manu got up, you could actually hear Ben Cummins say, "He's up, he's up."
I know it's a very, very bad precedent to set. And I think the problem is like Cummins is trying to do the right thing. It's like he doesn't want to send people off. He's been told from above that this needs to happen. And so he's seen a way out. Like, he's seen, like, look, I don't want to send, like, it was accidental. There was no malice in it. Manu's okay. Let's just get on with the game. Problem is that the broader scheme of things, it creates an environment where, okay, well, if you do stay down, you're going to get the penalty. And how could you, here's a clear example of, if the Roosters go on to lose that game, if you're a Roosters fan, yes, it's great that Joey showed integrity, he got straight up, but what would you rather? Joey stay down he could have stayed down for 5 seconds and then got up, and you may have won that game because they would have lost a player. So there's a lot of Roosters fans that would have said, you know what, fuck it, yes, stay down. You did get head high, you just didn't get knocked out. Stay down for a little bit so you get the penalty that you're supposed to get up. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be some Roosters fans that say, no, I love the integrity. I love the fact that he didn't fake anything. I guess the only question you've got to ask yourself is, if it was a grand final, 5 minutes to go, there's a field goal, a conversion to win it, would you still want him to have that integrity? If that is the case, if you are willing to lose a grand final from it, then fair play to you. That's your opinion. That's like fair play to you. That's just the way you want footy to be, and I can respect that. I can totally respect that, and I can see where you're coming from. But the other side of it is, the players are out there to win, and fans want their club to win. So I don't know. When it comes to the subjectivity of it, that's what we used to have the match review committee for, because they would watch it, they would go through everything, they would break it all down, and there were still problems with that. But at least with that, it wasn't, impacting the game right then and there. At least with that, like the problem with that is the team next week, let's say the player got suspended, the team next week would get the advantage from it. But I think I think that's a small price to pay compared to this inconsistency we're seeing now, where teams are paying for things they shouldn't have to pay for. And that's also why we brought in the 18th man, so that if someone does get foul play and taken off, we can bring it on. Yes, you are losing a starter, but I think that's a better scenario than this situation where a guy like Kobe Hetherington's getting sent off, and then a guy like Proctor is sweet. Now, it's just... I thought we had a good system before. I thought that we could hand out bigger fines. I think if you start hitting players in the pocket, I think that would that would probably clean a little bit up. Like if you started saying, all right, we're going to give you a $10,000 fine if you're reckless and careless. I guess the only problem with that is what if the match review committee still gets it wrong, and they still think it was too crazy, and then you've got to pay $10,000 for it. So,
now for those listening, on a weekend when the games are on, Dan will text me if something's happened, add it to the run sheet. And during the Roosters Titans game, you texted me Sam Walker shoulder injury and concerning, which it was at the time. Then he came on and kicked the winning field goal. I guess you can still talk about how you don't want to. How the Roosters
it's still 100% concerning. He got needled.
Yeah,
he's 18. Now he's got both shoulders. That one of them most likely needs a reconstruction. So it's absolutely concerning. Like I just think that. What did I say earlier in the year? I said I'm getting concerned. He's getting banged up, and are we not seeing it play out? Are we not seeing exactly what we were talking about earlier in the year? Of like, fuck, it's a small body, it's a young frame. He's getting banged up through no fault of his own. He's tough as anything. But this is what playing in resis and those years of just grinding it out. There's 1 or 2 years. This is what that gives your body. And the problem with the Roosters is they've had so many injuries. He's been rushed in. Trent Robinson would have planned to only play him maybe 4 or 5 games this year max, and he wouldn't have had these issues. He would have been sweet. So I honestly think that the Roosters genuinely start looking at regularly resting him, like just bringing him in and out, because it is definitely not worth banging up his body, and it happens regularly. So again, the problem with the Roosters is they've got so many injuries. If they were injury free, he would be probably. Let's say he got this injury and he needed a reconstruction at the end of the year. Let's say he got that injury when the Roosters were injury free. They would say, all right, season's over, get the surgery now so that you're ready for next year. Now, if he does need surgery, I'm not saying, I don't know whether he does or he doesn't, but it's like when you're that fucked up, usually at least one shoulder needs at least a clean out, if not a full reconstruction. Even in my first year, I made my debut, I played 4 games, and I needed a reconstruction the whole year. I think it was the last 3 matches where they said, okay, you're good for the year, go and get your reconstruction. And I just think that, look, if he needs any surgery or anything like that, I would begin to consider. I know we're only halfway through the year, so maybe you bring him in and out for a few more games, maybe, and then when it gets to round 20, you say, all right, season's over, get your reconstruction, get your body right again, because the last thing you want is him underdone coming into next year and then having to, be sweet to go next year and he's underdone. You want him doing full contact for the whole of 2022 preseason, as in 2022, not the end of 2021. So very, very concerning. I think that I do not see Sam Walker playing the year out. I could be wrong, and maybe it was a stinger or whatever, and so I could be totally wrong. But if I'm looking long term for the future of the club, I'm thinking, however we can manage Sam Walker through this year, we should manage him through this year, and we should not be playing him every single game.
From one young gun to another, the Reece Walsh hype train is in full flight.
Guess we'll talk about the field goal. The field goal just shows you this guy is the kid that we all think he is. Comes back on, demands the ball, kicks the field goal under pressure after he's just got a needle. It's brilliant. And shows you his toughness, his mental toughness to zone back into the game, to demand the ball. Also, the biggest, it could have been the biggest comeback of all time. All those points, most of those points anyway, were scored when Sam Walker was off the field. So it shows you how important he is to the team in wrestling momentum back. He's the guy when he's on the field that would have been able to do some kind of play to wrestle the momentum back for the Roosters. And so incredible moment for Sam Walker to think that he's so bunged up. He went off the field, most likely got needled, comes back on, wins the game for him. That's why players like him get paid $1 million, because he wins you matches that you wouldn't have won otherwise. So incredible show of toughness, mental fortitude, and just his ability as a superstar going forward for the club.
He was the first 18-year-old to kick a match-winning field goal in 24 years. It was Craig Gow in 1997.
And how many years?
24.
Incredible.
So 19, he wasn't even born.
Incredible.
Yeah, Craig Gower was the last one to do that. Back to Reece Walsh. He's played 5 games. People are talking about him for Origin. Nathan Brown's kind of quashed that a little bit. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, there's no denying Reece Walsh is going to play Origin. Absolutely. He's an incredible talent. But I just think right now it's a little bit too soon. I don't like. Do we put it this way? If we had Reece Walsh the other night, would that change the result?
Yeah,
I don't think so. But we could have scarred the kid, getting absolutely ussed by Tarek Sims or whatever. Sometimes you've got to does he have the talent to play right now? Yes, he does. In the perfect world where you could predict the future, and he was going to be okay, and let's say you knew he was going to come out and kill it, you would put him in there. You'd be like, get him on the bench. But it's not a perfect world. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So the safe thing is to let him develop more. There's still a lot in his game that he needs to clean up, but he is a future superstar, not only of the Warriors, but of Queensland. And so you just do not want to risk, do you really want to risk a 10-year superstar on one series where he may or may not make a difference? What we do know is he's going to be a 10-year superstar. We know as much as we can. So I just think that when Reece Walsh, let him develop, going into a pressure cooker game 2 at Suncorp, I think would be, the most I could see would be putting him on the bench at 14. But, with Ponga there, I just think that just give him another year. Give him another year. You don't need to rush him in. We managed to beat the New South Wales last year with the worst side in 40 years. Everyone keeps touting that about. It was only one journo that said it. You know what I mean? But people they've attached it to the whole of the state of New South Wales. You know what I mean?
Oh, and it's going to be there forever.
Yeah, it'll be there forever. But it's the whole of New South Wales didn't say that.
It didn't come from Blues camp.
It literally came from one journo. Even everyone attributes to Paul Gallen as well. He didn't say it either.
Yeah. Fucked it for everyone.
Sorry?
He fucked it for everyone.
Yeah, it's crazy. Don't get me wrong. Even as a Queenslander, looking at the team on paper last year, it wasn't a good side. On paper. I take that back. It wasn't a good side, but on paper, it wasn't an experienced side. There was a lot of questions on could they perform. So there's no denying, the comment that it wasn't as good a side on paper as other sides in history. It's a fair comment. Worst side in 40 years though. I think that's disrespectful because you don't know how they're going to play. In saying that, it's great for the yarn.
Oh, it's awesome.
How much has it added? This one journalist saying this, pretty extreme opinion, but it's still just an opinion. How much narrative has it added to Origin?
Especially when Daly Cherry Evans said it on the presentation.
Exactly. It's beautiful. I love it. How fucking good. And then then fucking New South Wales come out this year and absolutely towel us up. After last year, we did what we did. It's all part of the narrative. So do I agree with it? Did I agree with it? No, I didn't, because you just don't know in Origin with the Queensland jersey especially. If we managed to do it last year with that team, we should. It's not bringing some superstar in is not going to. We should be able to do it this year. You know what I mean? Or at least have a fair crack. So I just think let's focus on him as a 10-year player rather than the saviour of this series.
Sharks are going pretty good at the moment, but unfortunately for Wade Graham, he got taken off the field. He's now taking 4 weeks off footy due to a concussion. I guess. What are your thoughts on that? You can't be too careful, I guess, these days.
Yeah, 4 weeks minimum. If I was him, I'd be considering taking the season off. I know, and that's coming from a point of all I care about is Wade Graham as a bloke. He's also got nothing left to prove. Premiership, country, state, tough as fuck, done it all. So I think that however long he needs to take to make the right decision on what to do going forward, he should take that. Whether that's come back in a week and he's all good and he fucking kills everyone and he's killing it, then that's sweet. But my concern is just him as a bloke and as a player. Whatever he needs to do to make sure he's okay, that's what I want Wade Graham to do. And I hope he doesn't feel pressured to come back. Not that the club would ever do that. I'm not saying that. I hope he doesn't feel internal pressure, even though he would because he's a competitor. But whatever he has to do it right, that's what I hope happens.
It's good to see as well. I guess Ryan Madison was on your podcast earlier in the year, and he talked about how he had concussion issues in 2018. He took an extended time off this year. Ryan Papenhuyzen, who knows when he's going to come back. It's good to see they're taking it so seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fucking violent sport. We're so desensitized to it because it's a part of our culture. But everyone calls Aussies crazy when they're like, "What? That's you play that?" It's a violent sport, and we got to be smart. We got to be smart with our minds, and now that we have the information, it was very different in my time. We didn't have the information, so you got fucking knocked out, you got back up, and if you went off, you were soft. That was just the way it was because we didn't know, and that's okay. Now we do know, so we have to do the right thing by the players, by the game, by the clubs, by the fans, by everyone. And so I'm really glad that now we do have the information. The game is doing the right thing. The players are doing the right thing. The club's doing the right thing. So I love that these players are given the time to heal properly and make the correct calls for the rest of their life because, like an extra season or two isn't going to change anyone's opinion of you. Even me personally, I had a few weeks off because of, head highs and that. No one looks at me and says, "Oh, you're less of an NRL player because you didn't play 100 games instead of 40 games." I'm an NRL player. I played NRL for a substantial amount of time. Now, look, you could get into the elitist arguments of guys that have played 200 games. Obviously, he's far more of an NRL player than I am. There's fucking no denying that. But at the end of the day, I achieved what I wanted to achieve, and I got out safe and healthy, and I could do things after rugby league. Now, the problem is with some players is they don't know what direction to go in after footy. And it took me a few years to find my own direction. So that can sometimes slant your decision of oh, fuck, should I retire? Should I not retire? I don't know what I'm going to do. This is all I've ever known. This is my whole life. I've been dedicated to being an NRL player. And once it's gone, So
I guess taking time off or even retiring the sport that you love, that's tougher than actually taking the field. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because that's all you are as a person. You just are a rugby league player. So if you're not a rugby league player, what are you as a human being? What do you exist for? It's a very hard thing to explain to someone that hasn't dedicated their life to something. It's I guess the best thing I could say, and that's not me going, how fucking great we are rugby league players. Not at all. It's like the army. It's even worse than the army because in the army, they dedicate their life to being, in the army. They go away with their mates. They risk their lives for their mates. And then when they leave the army, what is their identity? They have to go from up here where they're risking their lives for these crazy purposes and just being incredible, brave people to a normal life where it's what am I if I'm not an army soldier? And again, I personally have never been one, but just when you speak to them, that's their identity. And it's the same with rugby league. If you look at... If you want to empathise, I guess, with how hard it is to retire, think about something you've loved your whole life and you've done since you were 5 years old, and you love it. Turn that up a notch or two because you've turned it into a profession. Now imagine if tomorrow you had to wake up and say, "I'll never do that again."
Just the concept of starting something completely new at age 30, that's daunting
tough.
to me.
It's tough. And again, look, this is not woe was me. There's no one sitting here going, "Oh, fuck, it's so hard for footy players." It's more just these are the realities. That doesn't mean that we aren't super fucking grateful and we don't fully understand how lucky we were to have what we had. But the reality is, even in other jobs where you've been so dedicated to it for your whole life, if you walk away, there's going to take time to heal. And I think the army's the extremist of it, that would be the toughest to retire from the army. And then I'd probably say professional sport underneath that, and then maybe just if you're a professional in your job and you've been climbing the ranks and then you've got to walk away from that. It happens in every job, just to what extent, how much does it hurt you, how much do you identify as it. So I'm glad that players are given time to get it right. They don't have to make a decision are you sweet or not sweet? All right, well, you better fucking retire. So yeah. And again, just to be clear, I'm not, discounting anyone's, how hard it is for them to leave their job or anything like that. Not at all. I'm just speaking from my experience. I know everyone deals with their own kind of stuff.
I'll let you elaborate on this one. That's Just Footy, Michael Maguire.
Yeah, okay. So I was watching the Michael Maguire press conference. And at the start of it, I was sitting there going, I don't agree with, I think he was like kind of saying, basically he was saying, you know, we've got a player sent off for pulling back Joey Lussick. And I think he was implying he didn't really agree with the send-off. And then they scored 3 tries. So his implication was like, look, it really affected the game, which is fine. That's his opinion. I kind of disagree. I think like if there's a break, regardless of what we think the player is or isn't going to do in support, if he's around the ball and you pull his jersey back, that's a professional foul in my opinion. Just don't put do you know what I mean? That's a professional foul. You've chosen to do something to negatively impact the play. We don't know what Joey Lussick could have done. He could have got the ball from Dylan Brown and fended 6 blokes and scored. We don't know, and we'll never know because he got held back. Now, look, I understand some people that say, look, he was fucking 5 metres from the ball. He wouldn't have scored. Yeah, most likely you're right. But if we start going down that lane, it's very, very grey area. Like, okay, well, what is a scoring opportunity then? Does he have to be in the clear? And then if you pull him back, that's when you get 10 in the bin? I just think if you're running towards the ball and you make a clear pull, you can see the jersey literally pull like that, that's a professional foul in my opinion. But I understand the argument against it though. I understand why some people might say, yeah, but he wasn't going to get there. So it should just be a penalty and not 10 in the bin. 10 in the bin's too extreme. I get that. And I don't think that's too, I don't disagree with it. I'm not fully against that version of it, you know. But I do think that for the safety of the rule going forward, any pulling back around the ball like that, like that's close enough where he can get the ball, I think that it should be considered a professional foul. But the real reason why I said what I fucking love, and I've got so much respect for Michael Maguire that he said this, like I already respected him. He's a premiership winning coach, incredible. But they were talking about Papali's knee on... I don't know who it was, but he dropped a knee on someone's head. And obviously, grubby play, like bad grubby play. But Michael Maguire just said, that's just footy. And like, he had just lost a game quite convincingly. Very easy for him to be blowing up about that. And he probably would have a right to. But you know what? It is just footy. Grubby stuff's going to happen. Doesn't mean that we condone it. Doesn't mean that, you know... he shouldn't have been sent for 10. He should absolutely been sent for 10. Like there's in my opinion, no doubting he should have been sent for 10. But it also, footy, like it's a violent contact sport. These little grubby things, they're going to happen. We don't need to make a bigger deal out of them than we have to. And I had so much respect for Madge that he was just like, look, that's just footy. That's part of our game. It's a very, I'm paraphrasing, but he was just like, look, we play a tough game. And that's part of rugby league. So hats off to Michael Maguire. That showed a lot of integrity. That.
Speaking of blow-ups, what about the Mitch Moses, Clint Gutherson?
Yeah, the Mitchell Moses. Look, again, some people saying they don't like... When you can talk to your best mate like that, that's actually a good sign. Because it means you're so close that you can just speak to each other like that and it's going to be all good. Like it was all good. Like Gutho handled it perfectly. He was like, hey, mate, chill. Don't speak to me like that. Blah, blah, blah. Like that's footy. You want them that close. You want Mitchell Moses fucking in there, passionate. Like, was it the best look or whatever? No, but again, this is fucking footy. Sometimes I feel like everyone wants, like they pretend like they don't, but everyone wants the game to be so clean and cookie cutter. These are grown men putting everything on the line, including their bodies, to win at all costs. There's going to be passion explosions. There's going to be blokes swearing at each other. I thought it was good. I thought it showed that they're close. That's how you speak to your brother or your really close mates. Do you speak to a guy you're not that close to like that?
Never.
Never. Mitchell Moses, he spoke to Guther like that because they're basically best mates. I got no issue with it. The only time I'd have an issue with it is if Guther had an issue with it. And Guther literally handled it like a captain should. He simmered Moses down. I mean, I think you saw perfect... Mitchell Moses showing heaps of passion. That's what you want from your ball player. Gutho showing heaps of calm, collected. He didn't blow up back of him, didn't get offended or whatever, understood that that's what the kind of player Mitchell Moses is, and we're just like, chill, like it's all good, and everything went smoothly after that.
I feel like Mitch Moses, like, whenever he zigs, everyone says he should zag. Like, he showed too much passion this time, but then we'll criticise him for not being in a game sometimes.
Mitchell Moses is a 26-year-old half or a 25-year-old half that took the Eels from, like, where were they? Like,
well, they were last 3 years ago.
Well, yeah, 3 years ago they were last. Was he at the club then though?
Yeah, he was. That was when the whole him and Normie were not clashing, but yeah.
But I think it was his first or second year.
Yeah,
maybe
his
second year.
Moved over, second year.
But from that point on, he's taken the club, helped take the club to a top 3 or 4 side. He's 26 years old. Like, there's so many people out there that just want these halves to be like Joey Johns at 21 years old. Just not going to happen. And Mitchell Moses is a gun. Yes, if he wants to be considered the elite of the elite, he needs to go further, deeper into the finals. Absolutely. There's no one saying that's not true. But at the moment, he's doing his job. He's not on $1 million. He's on about 700 to 800K. And he was bought from the Tigers, and he's now a top 4 squad. What more could you ask outside of a grand final now from the guy? You have progressed ever since they came last. They have progressed further and further up the ladder. And I've got nothing but respect and admiration for Mitchell Moses. Look, the only knock on his game is sometimes he goes too sideways. But, like, everyone's got some part of their game that if we were all perfect, then fuck, well, you know what I mean? Like, not every player is literally, every player isn't perfect. Every player has a part of their game that, Cam Munster can get too passionate sometimes, can let his passions get ahead of him. Like Cleary, there was a period there where he wasn't running the ball much. Luke Brooks has started to run the ball more. He's going okay. DCE, every player has negatives and positives. And outside of that, Mitchell Moses, in my opinion, is a top tier half. He's definitely top 5, in my opinion. And I think he has the ability to progress to a premiership winning half. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that Eels squad in the next few years could make a grand final. And if he does that, if he gets to a grand final, that's a massive win for Para, for a team that, was 2009 they went on that run with Hayne, and then outside of that they've done nothing. Correct?
Exactly. I think they've made the finals.
Now
last year once.
They're a top 4 juggernaut. Yeah. They're like this close. They just need a few more things to go their way, and they'll jump into that top 3-ish area.
People forget they've got 3 spoons in the last decade.
Yeah, it's mate. And who's the guy leading them around? Mitchell Moses.
Exactly.
I don't think people are very quick to they're just, it's a loud minority, man. Like, it's a loud minority. Very quick to speak poorly of Mitchell Moses. Like, he can never do anything right. He's always like, they make top 4. Oh yeah, but he's not going to push into the finals, and they got bounced out in the first. It's like, you need to it takes time to progress into the club. Like, look at Penrith. They were nowhere near the juggernaut they are now. And even they still have developing to do, as they have proven over the last few weeks. Even the Storm, when Bellamy first took the Storm over, they came 5th, 6th and 5th. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, people just, be patient.
You forget that, don't you?
You just forget it. Roosters, 2016, I think they came second last.
Second last, yeah.
Like, it takes time. It takes time. And I think the Parramatta Eels have signed incredibly well. I think Mitchell Moses is a man to do the job. I think him with Dylan Brown's perfect. Gutho is a fucking legend. And their forward pack's incredible. So, yeah, I think I thought it was actually a sign of how close they were, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it was a good sign. Bit of talk, a bit of noise that Matt Dufty will end up at Canberra. Do you think that's a good fit?
Well, now the talk is Bailey Simonson is fucking he played really well on the weekend. I never got the Dufty talk to Canberra. Never got it, because Charles Nicoll-Klostad is a fucking great fullback that took them to a grand final.
Well, they're saying that
centers.
To centers, yeah.
But it's like, you've got one fullback that took you to a grand final.
Yeah.
And then you've got Dufty, who was a good fullback. He's played maybe one finals game.
Yeah, not many. 1 year, I think.
1 year of finals footy. Yeah. And you're going to move Charles Nicoll-Klostad. Now, maybe there's more about his neck injury that we don't know. And maybe they're trying to bank on the situation where Charles Nicoll-Klostad, sorry, I don't know how to say his last name now. Klostad? Sorry. We'll just say Chance.
Chansey.
Now, maybe he's not recovering as well as possible. I'm not sure. But let's just what we do know is Charles Nicoll-Klokstad is going to be back. And he's a fucking gun. And at the start of the year when he was playing, Raiders actually weren't going that bad.
Well, he's showing how important he is, how like the Raiders are going so bad this year.
He's the unsung man. He's the unspoken person that we haven't really talked about when it comes to the Raiders struggling. So for me, it's almost like, again, maybe there's more to it, but if I'm the Raiders, I almost don't even entertain it because I don't want to put Chance offside. Now, Chance is such a good bloke. He's going to play centre. But if I'm the Raiders, I'm sitting there going, I'm selling Chance. Mate, we're not bringing anyone here to play fullback. You are our long-term fullback. He took him to a grand final, and he was for 60 minutes, he was best on ground nearly, and then he started cramping up.
And haven't you said in the past that his season stats last year are actually better than the grand final year?
Yeah, he's a fucking great player. Like, look at Penrith. They've got a guy like Dylan Edwards at the back. He does his job, gets through heaps of work. Is he Tedesco? No, he's not Tedesco. But you can build a team around that. So it's just shocking to me that, like, they would even consider moving him to fullback when you went to a grand final with him. And then last year, you went to a prelim. And then all of a sudden, you're going to sign a fullback who hasn't got that resume for maybe more money. I don't know. Like, unless Dufty's willing to go there to play 14 or reserve grade, which I doubt he is. And this is definitely no knock on Dufty. Like, this is, again, he's a good player. But the facts are the facts. Like, Chance has gone to a prelim and a grand final. So I'm just not understanding that. Now, maybe they feel that, with Chance and Dufty in the side, they'll be even better. I just don't know. They got Tomoko there that was great at centre. Croker's got to come back. They got Sebastian Chris. It's a really bizarre. And then they got Bailey Simonson, who on the weekend was fantastic, one of their best players, maybe if not their best player, who is an actual fullback that's just been playing on the wing. But fullback's his position. He used to play All Black Sevens, rugby union.
And we're not sure what's going to happen with Curtis Scott, but he's there as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's there. I'd be surprised if Scott. I mean, I hope everything works out for him, and maybe I hope everything works out for him, and he does keep his contract. But I'd be surprised if they do, because there's like video footage of him fighting the guy. But I hope there's more circumstances to it that ease the negative impact of Curtis Scott, because he's had such a rough few years. I would hate to see him end his career like this. So look, you've got Bailey Simonson, who's normally a fullback. You got Chance Nicoll-Klokstad. To me, it's surprising that because he went down and toured the facilities, correct?
Sorry? Yeah, he went down there and spoke to him.
Very surprising.
I think they wanted him there this year.
Yeah, that's surprising to me. Really, really surprising. And yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll get stuck into the reviews.
We'll talk about Ken Maumalo.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I think there's more to that. It doesn't seem like a guy that has chosen to leave. It sounds a lot like he was on big money and he wasn't getting... He was struggling for form, and the Warriors have said to him, you can look elsewhere. Because in the press release, they said he got a long-term offer somewhere else and we couldn't offer him anything after that. So what that kind of like... What they're really saying is he's on too much money and we want to get rid of him straight away.
Right.
Because like when you say a year out from the end of someone's contract, we have nothing for you here. You know what I mean? He's still got a whole year to go.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you're basically you're choosing to get rid of him. Like you're pushing him out of the club. Because if you were genuinely like, okay, well, we'll see how he goes and we may re-sign him, you would be like, well, we'll give him another year,
It's weird. Like they're losing Roger and Maumalo can clock up so many meters back there as well.
Yeah, but I think he's on quite a bit of coin though.
Right.
And so he was struggling a bit for form. And like rightly so, he's a very family-orientated man. The issues with the quarantine and all that kind of stuff that happened last year, like at least if he's signed with an Australian club, he can bring his family over and live here and like have some stability. But I think it has a lot to do with the Warriors, new coach, Gus Gould at the top. I'm not sure if he had anything to do with this, but Nathan Brown, basically saying, look, we've got this guy that's struggling for form. He's on heaps of money. We're not going to re-sign him anyway, so let's try to move him on early. Now, if you want to give, what's the word? If you want to give the club the benefit of the doubt, you could say, look, they're just giving him plenty of time to find a club. which is fair enough. Like, that is true. But in saying that, if you're Ken Maumalo, I'm assuming he actually wanted to stay because he was very upset. You could see how much it hurt him after he scored a hat-trick. So clearly, I mean, not clearly. I'm not sure. But it looks like the club has said, we're not going to resign you, so the earlier you go, the better for us, because the earlier you go, the more cap space that relieves for us, the more we can go into the market, the more we can do, which is fair enough. That's rugby league. I'm glad that Ken Maumalo found a spot at the Tigers. I think that, under Madge being such a hard coach, I actually think we're going to see the best out of Ken Maumalo. If Ken Maumalo fully buys into Michael Maguire's hardline stance, we're actually going to see a wrecking ball, an absolute wrecking ball. Because although sometimes the hardline stance can be tough on some players, and it's very hard to keep that level of like that standard up. When you got a guy of Ken Maumalo's talent, training as hard as he's going to be training with the standards as high as Michael Maguire's going to be expecting, I think we're going to see a pretty fucking dangerous winger, Ken Maumalo.
100%. Is there anything else? Should we get into the
Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, potentially to the Warriors is the word. Nathan Brown has said that he is on their target. And so that's, again, these things don't just happen. They don't just go, see you, Ken Maumalo, now we're going to start looking at other players. They would have already been in discussions with a few wingers. Watene-Zelezniak probably is on not a big contract, and, he's struggled a bit for form lately, so probably wants a fresh restart. And so I think that's probably what they're looking at. Watene-Zelezniak to replace Ken Maumalo on a smaller contract. Watene being, from his home country, maybe that makes him play better. Maybe he'll suit the style better. It just hasn't... I mean, when he first came to the Doggies, Watene-Zelezniak, he was fucking fantastic. Just struggled. I mean, the whole club struggled. I don't know how. Like, it's one of those situations where the chicken or the egg, like, how can you expect a player to play well when everyone's struggling so much? But the only way to stop struggling as a club is if the players play well. It's like this really fucking tough balance. So, look, if they get him for the right price, then it's a good deal.
The Doggies can afford to get rid of it back as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'd be on a decent coin at the Doggies too, because at the time of his transfer, I think he was a Kiwi captain.
Yeah.
So I think the Doggies are probably going to they'll probably be kicking in a bit of his contract. Warriors will kick in some of his contract, and they might get him for like $200,000, and the Doggies are paying $200,000, and that's a win. You got a New Zealand captain that when he is on, he is fucking fantastic for $200,000. So if you're looking at it from the Warriors' perspective, you're like, we've got this great winger. Whereas I think Ken Maumalo, he'd be on like 450 or so, I'd say. Be on a bit of coin, because he was incredible for a few years there. Incredible. So, yeah.
Manly Cowboys. Cowboys up 12-0, and then Manly 44 unanswered points, and then a try at the end. What do you think of them?
Fuck. Incredible. Fucking honestly. Manly just looking so good. They're looking like a top 4 side.
Well, the jury's been out if they can do it without Turbo, and he wasn't playing.
Yeah, exactly. 50-18. And, Ruben Garrick comes back. He plays one of the best games of his fucking career. So it's just great science. And Manly, I just cannot believe how poorly they were going at the start of the year and how good they look now. Like, Hamola Olakau'ate, he was friggin' fantastic. He's a beast, man. He's a beast.
So good.
And there's so much potential there, There's just so much potential where, he's big, he's mobile, he gets through a lot of work, he's fit, good ball player. I think he's going to be something special. Only 22 years old. Desi strikes again. He just seems to know how to get the boys together. It's just so surprising. I just cannot believe that they're looking like a top 4 side after the start of the season they had. Like right now, they're 6th. Manly Seagulls are 6th. They're 1 win points. So they're 2 wins away from Roosters.
Do you reckon they can sneak their way in?
They could potentially sneak their way into top 4. That would be the most dramatic turnaround in rugby league history. The worst start in 20 years to a top 4 finish, because obviously the Rabbitohs need to drop. They'd have to go on a fair fucking run. Don't get me wrong. Like, it would be a fucking fair run, because they're still 2 wins away from the Roosters at 20 points.
Yeah, they need to rely on other teams as well. So
and Rabbitohs are on 22 points. So they're like, 3 wins away? But it could happen.
Like, if Manly played the Rabbitohs tomorrow, would you tip Manly?
You probably would. You probably would. It would be close. But, like, let's say, look, it probably won't happen. But fucking like, what a turnaround. Like, they're entrenched in the top 8 now. Like, they are the 8th position is 2 wins away. That's fucking just amazing, man. Like, fair play to Desi and the Manly boys to turn it around like that. And it's such good signs to see that they can play without a guy like Tom Trbojevic, and they can score points. Like, it's bizarre. I can't get my head around it. They couldn't do anything before, and now they're looking good. So, look, I thought a great bounce back from Cherry Evans, 3 try assists, really had a point to prove. So hopefully that he takes that form into Queensland's next game. But all across the board, like Martin Tapau had a great game. Lachlan Croker, hasn't he developed?
Ruben Garrick, 324 running metres.
Yeah, incredible. Like, that try that Ruben Garrick scored was fucking fantastic. I didn't know he was that quick.
Yeah.
Just a fucking good. Like, Brad Parker, how good's Brad Parker been?
He's incredible.
Yeah, he had 2 tries. He's on the sting, 131 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks. He's playing great. The good old Brad Parker. Who else? Carl Lawton played fantastic. Look, it speaks for itself. Like, they played really, really well. The Cowboys, wow. They were starved of possession. They had 61% completion. You're going to get towed up with 61% completion. Like, you're just going to get towed up. They had 5 line breaks, which is okay for how much possession they had. 52 missed tackles to 20 missed tackles. There's your story right there. You're never going to win games ever when you have a 61% completion rate and 52 missed tackles. To be honest, they actually got out of the game 50-18. Yes, it was 50 put on them, or what was it? Yeah, 50-18. But, they actually got out of the game pretty sweet. They're lucky it wasn't 50-0.
Well, lucky they started well.
Exactly. Because 52 missed tackles to 20.
Yeah, it's just not up to standard. Don't want to pin the blame on anyone, but it was a tough club debut for Tommy Dearden.
Yeah, tough. Really tough. I know they're professionals, but, I don't know. I feel like yesteryear, young people wouldn't go to clubs and just debut. You know what I mean? Yeah. I could be wrong. I've got no stats on this. I've got no evidence, but I felt like back in the day, if you said you were going to go to a new club, people would be like, that's crazy. Debut that same week. He needs at least 3 or 4 weeks to learn the fucking systems. Not the best. He struggled. I think Jake Clifford struggled a bit at Newey last week as well. We've got to remember these guys are young, especially Dearden. Dearden's 20 years old. His confidence would be absolutely shot from the Broncos. I think we just got to be patient with guys like Dearden and Clifford, because especially Dearden, being at the Broncos and going through everything that, it's outside.
Yeah, sweet.
Being at the Broncos and going through everything that he went through, I think it's going to take a while for Dearden to get his confidence back. To go think of the pressure a guy like Dearden was under at the Broncos. A lot of pressure and getting dropped all the time. It's tough. So, look, the story of the game is the Cowboys lost them. They didn't even give themselves a chance to win that game. Were there any shining stars? Drinkwater's try assists were great.
What's your read on the Cowboys at the moment? Because they are still sitting in 7th.
It's tough because, Drinkwater 8 missed tackles, Dearden 6 missed tackles, their front row 6 missed tackles. Holmes 5 missed tackles. Maybe they're tired, fatigued. Very surprising. For so many weeks, they looked like building towards something special and just solid, good, solid foundation for a club. But their missed tackles just killed them, Hamiso in the centres had 3 errors. Yeah, just tough. It's just one of those games for the Cowboys. It's one of those games where the silver lining is they beat themselves, and I think they'll bounce back. The fucking Manly just look red hot. So hopefully they bounce. I mean, they're going to be more upset than anyone. On to the next game.
Yeah, we got the Sharks versus Penrith. As we said a couple of weeks ago, the bottom two spots of the top 8. It's becoming quite a battle, and the Cowboys are actually playing the Sharks next week. But yeah, the Sharkies, Sean Johnston kind of saying, give me a contract, someone. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he was really good in the first half, a little bit quiet in the second half. Look, SJ's going to land a contract. Like, there's no denying that. It's just how much he's going to land a contract and for how long. I think that the Sharks let them back into the game. I thought they pretty much had it, not won, but I thought they dominated most of the game. From what I remember watching it. I'll just get the... Yeah, so... Yeah, the second half, really, late in the second half as well. I felt like the Cowboys for like 50 minutes were easily the better side, and then they just
the Sharks?
The Sharks, apologies. And Matt Burton really did step up in the second half, struggled a bit in the first half. But Sharks, look, they're building. They're looking a lot better than they were a few weeks ago. Looking a lot better. Now, it's hard to gauge. Is it because the Panthers are struggling right now, or is it because the Sharks are looking good? The positive is I think Ronaldo Mulitalo was a smoky for Queensland. I actually would strongly consider him, just due to the fact that Oates struggled last week. Coates struggled last week. Valentine Holmes will probably move to the wing. You've got Ponga at fullback. So I think his name will be in the ring because he is a Queenslander, very passionate Queenslander, and I think he's been quite solid the last 2 weeks. Yes, he's been away injured. But yeah, I think he's been pretty good. So I thought, look, it's... I
want to see Ronaldo in Origin because he's got that youthful arrogance, and he's one of those blokes, if he layers up, it's going to annoy a state's worth of fans.
Yeah, absolutely. But he had 7 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 139 metres, 1 try, 1 try assist. That's a fucking great game.
Good from the wing, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great game. So I think that if I'm picking the side next week, I'm going Ronaldo and Valentine Holmes, only because I just want Coates to... I don't want him to be scarred, man. Like, I don't want... Coates is going to be our winger for the next 10 years, and he's so in... It's like the Reece Walsh situation to a lesser degree, but, he's so important to us long-term at Queensland. Like, a big, strong winger that can catch high balls. Like, you put him on the wing for the next 10 years at Queensland, he can win us matches. Like, guys like him are genetic freaks. They're so hard to come by. So you don't want to ruin a guy like that. Not to say that it definitely would ruin him, but, he did struggle. It hasn't just been the Origin series where he struggled. He's been struggling for form for a few weeks now. And I just think that everything going on at the Broncos and then the contract signing, and then there's a lot going on in Coates' life. So, look, if he gets selected, I'm not going to be sitting there going, that's the worst selection ever. Not at all, because what he can do is incredible, absolutely incredible. But I wouldn't be surprised if they look at going to Ronaldo and just give... because I think he's still 19 years old.
Yeah, he's so young.
He's so young. So I'm not sure who they'll go with, but I do think that Ronaldo's name will be in the hat. But yeah, I mean, SJ's first half especially, so good.
Well, JT's Jonathan Thurston has said that he'd like to see Ronaldo in there, so he didn't hurt his chances.
I've been last week I was thinking about it, but it was his first game back, so I was like, look, it's his first game back. He needs more footy under his belt, but he's got match fitness now. He's playing really good footy, so I think he's a smoky. When it comes to SJ, look, I think that just depends on how much he's going to get paid, but every club nearly could do with SJ. Like, there's so many people that need a fucking good 7. You could put him with Reynolds. He could be the 6 at the Broncos. You could the Raiders. He could be a 7 for Whiten. The Doggy. I mean, think about how many clubs could use a guy like SJ. Just depends how long the contract is for. But yeah, I thought it was just so good to see him. It was the ugliest field goal of all time, but so good to see SJ. Get told a couple of weeks ago he's not wanted. keeps his mental fortitude, and this is coming off a very severe injury, and he has these special moments, and that's why like some people might be like, oh, why does a guy like SJ get these big contracts? That's why, because he steps up in moments like that and he wins you the game. It's very rare to find someone that will do that.
Do you like how he just came out and addressed all the rumours and said, "Nah, this is true. Nah, this is bullshit"?
Yeah, that's what I think all players should do from now on. A lot of clubs in that don't like it, and the NRL, like, they like to have control over what the players say, who they work with, who they don't work with, like, because you got to remember, like the NRL and the clubs, their vested interest doesn't always align with the players' interest. You know, like, the club's interest is the club winning games, where the player's interest is about the team, yes, but it's also about, it's his profession, it's his job. So I do wish that players would just set the record straight more regularly and take the power away from external noise. Now, again, I'm not saying the NRL or the club would have not wanted him to address the rumours, but sometimes clubs don't want players speaking out that much just because it creates drama. Like, it's just it's hard to explain. It's like if you're working and there's this like outside noise from journalists and you're trying to win a match and your player comes out and sets the record straight, the journos actually like that because it creates more headlines, which is more noise for the team. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like the club doesn't want the player to have a voice. It's more about like, yes, we do want you to have a voice, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win a game and we don't need extra noise. So you can understand where the clubs are coming from with that. Again, I'm not saying the clubs have done that in this case at all. I'm just saying that that's why a lot of players don't speak out. Like, a lot of people sit here and go, fuck, why don't our players always boom, as soon as a rumour is not true, get on Instagram and put it to bed. That's kind of why, because it's extra noise, it's extra headlines, and it's adding fuel to the fire that the media kind of want.
The Panthers, do you think they just forget about that and move on to next week, or is there a little concern there?
I don't think there's concern there. I just think that this is a really good example of, Api Coruscant, 51 tackles and 0 misses.
Freak.
Fucking incredible. No, I don't think it's concern. I just think this is why you can't put Penrith in the Storm and the Roosters category just yet, especially the Storm, because they're testing their depth now. And they've got the problem that the Storm have had and the Roosters and the Broncos used to have for many years. And like the Storm especially, like they can have 5 of their best players out and still put 30 on you. And so I just think, look, it's more growing pains as a club. This is all part of the process. I think next year when this happens, they'll be more prepared. They'll have, better depth and everything. You can't just expect a club to be a powerhouse and then have every box ticked. You need to progress into a powerhouse club. All of the great clubs progressed into it. They didn't just turn up one year and all of a sudden they were fucking, unbelievable. It takes time to build rosters and everything. So I don't think it's worrying signs. I think it's just evidence that just a little bit of depth there, that's a bit of a struggle. But outside of that, doesn't mean they're still not red hot favourites with the Melbourne Storm to win the premiership.
On to the next game. Probably the most exciting 20 minutes of the year so far when the Titans were coming back against the Roosters. I guess, what were your thoughts on both teams' performances?
It's just tough, man. Like, the Titans, they cannot continue to play like this. This is why you can't play like this. It's exciting. It's so fucking good to watch, and they can put points on. But when you get 35 points scored against you, you're usually not going to win games. So, I thought it was brilliant, showed brilliant guts by the Titans. Like, fucking fair play to them. Like, fighting back like that, brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant to watch and good on them. It was so exciting. But then you look at the Roosters to get fought back on like that, but then somehow find a way to pull it back. Brilliant from the Roosters. There was a few crucial errors at crucial times for the Titans. They were ahead with 5 to go, and they dropped the ball, I'm pretty sure, and then they had a penalty, I think. Like little things like that. Like, if you're a Titans fan, the Titans, they're so close. They're so close to being a top 8 side. They just got to fix a few little things, and they'll be that side. But again, the Roosters just showed why they are decimated by injuries. Like, they are just so decimated. Joey Manu is so good. He is like one of the most underappreciated outside backs in the game right now, in the sense of he can play 6'1" centre and tear you apart in any position. And it's like he's just cursed by the fact that he's got Tedesco there. Like, I wonder how they're going to handle his next contract. Because he could get, I reckon, 600-700K as a fullback at another club. Even a 6, he is a fucking gun. And I actually think fullback's his best position. Every time he's played fullback,
he's killed it.
He's killed it. And so he's a good example of, he would be taking unders to stay at the, he'd be getting paid centre's wages. He would not be getting paid fullback wages. He'd be taking massive unders to stay loyal to the Roosters. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does next contract, because he's moving into the ages of like 26, 27 by the time that contract ends. I think he's a fullback, man. I really do. And it's going to be interesting to whether he goes, do I stay centre for the rest of my career and potentially not achieve the things I want to achieve as in that position? Maybe he does. Look, when you win in premierships, it's fucking all good. But he's just fucking incredible. Hargreaves, absolutely amazing. 250th game, and he does, where is it? Plays 80 minutes, 221 metres, 77 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 42 tackles.
He had the most tackles and the most metres of both teams in the whole game.
Incredible. Like this guy, like what, 34, 35, or like 33, around that age, 32.
Yeah.
And as a front rower, that's put your body through the meat grinder to play 80 minutes like that. When we talk about leaders and he is that tough underbelly the Roosters have. Like, he is the guy. Their chips are down at the Roosters right now. They're so decimated. They've had Morris, Friend, and Cordner all retire in the same month, pretty much. Mitch Moses retired at the end of last year. And this bloke, through all of this circumstances, has stood tall and led from the front. It's fucking amazing to watch. And yes, he does grubby things, but that's the double-edged sword that you have with Hargreaves. He is the epitome of the old school footy player that, yes, he does cross the line sometimes, but when the going gets tough, he's the one that gets going. And a lot of other people that may not have grubby things in the game, but when the going gets tough, they don't get going. So that's what I mean. Like, okay, you might have a player that, doesn't do silly things and give away penalties, but also when it gets real grimy and dirty, when you need that pig in the mud that's just rolling around in that shit, that motherfucker's rolling around loving life. And he is a huge reason the Roosters went back-to-back. He's a huge reason the Roosters will go forward in good stead with Boyd Cordner and Nathan Friend. Like, he's amazing. He's amazing. Like, would I want to play against him? Absolutely fucking not. Would I want to play with him? Absolutely. It's just... it's so impressive. I love seeing shit like that. Like, they're the fucking battlers. The pigs in the middle just fucking going skits. Love that shit.
I know Crichton scored, but Jaden Campbell showed twice now, Nico Hines and Crichton, that he can play above his weight a little bit.
Yeah. Look, Jaden Campbell was great this weekend. Really, really good. I actually really liked his game. Didn't have any errors, I thought. A lot of people blowing up about the tongue out from Crichton. Who fucking cares?
Love it.
Like, what the fuck? Oh my God. Like, who cares? It's a tongue out. Like we're playing footy. I'm trying to bash you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like this is a flair. This brings excitement. Like, do you want everyone to be a polite robot? It's like, oh, thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. They are literally violent, large gentlemen bashing each other. Passions are going to overflow. People are going to do things that, like Jerome Luai, the picture where he's like pointing at Kafusi. Like, yes, it stings as a Queenslander for me to see that. It stings. It makes me want to say, fuck you to Jerome. I love Jerome. I fucking love Jerome Luai. But that's part of the game. That's part, it makes me want to say fuck you as a Queenslander. But I also respect that that's part of the game. And I love that Jerome is doing that. This is Origin. Like, when did we ever, everyone always goes, oh, I love old school footy. I love back in the day where they used to punch the fuck out of each other. Like, everyone talks about that. But as soon as a player shows a bit of passion and gets in the face of someone else and fucking layers up, all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's disrespect, it's this, that, and the next thing. Like, it's footy, man. I love that shit. Let's go. Like, yes, if I was playing against Jerome or Clint Gutherson when he did that, if I was playing against him, yes, it would piss me off, but I would understand that it's a part of the game. Like, we're battling each other. So I feel like people are looking for reasons to be angry. Like, I thought it's a great picture of Jerome. Like, yes, okay, Kaufusi has been there and done that, and he's a veteran of the game. But at the end of the day, do you want your team respecting the other team? Do you want, as in, like, do you want them to go out and go, oh, shit, like, I don't want to do anything too wrong? Because no, you want your team going out there and doing anything they can to win, whether it be getting in their head or whatever. Now, does that mean that I would ever do that? No, because I'm not that kind of person. But as a fan of the game and watching the passions overflow, that's going to happen. Like, I just think that, that sticking the tongue out was just like, like, it's just weird because, like, I've seen plenty of other players stick their tongue out before they go over the try line. Big players. Some of the biggest superstars we've ever seen. And for them, when they do it, it's considered like leery and fun and, you know what I mean? Part of their character. And then Crichton, a bit out of character from do it. I didn't understand people who are upset with that. And I don't understand people that... Like, I understand why people can get upset when... Let's say I'm a Tigers fan and I see that picture of Gutho yelling at Laurie. I understand why your initial reaction is, fuck that guy. I get that. But that's part... Like, fuck that guy. He's the opposition. But don't like take it further than it needs to go. You know what I mean? Like, don't take it into this area of like disrespect and rah. It's like, no, it's just a competitive sport. That's good. He's the enemy. As soon as the game ends, that's where we all leave it. We leave it on the field. So look, Jerome doing it, Clint doing it, Angus Crichton doing it. I think it all adds to the game. I think that, you know, if you're a fan of the opposite team, all it does is add to your passionate in if you do beat that team, it adds to the sweeter taste in glory and victory. I think it's great. I thought Jerome's was incredible. The picture is an incredible picture. It makes me want Queensland to win even more, so the victory tastes sweeter. I think Gutho's picture is a fucking great picture. I know Dane Laurie is going to be like, I'm going to remember that, bro. I'm going to fucking remember that. But that's what this is about. This is a competition. We want it. But at the end of the day, we shake hands, we respect each other, and that's the end of it, in my opinion. What, you don't think Jerome and Clint and Angus didn't go and shake the opposition's hand and say, good game? I'm sure they did because they're fucking all stand-up blokes. So I love it. I love it. And I also respect if people have their opinion about it. But I think that, like, when you start crossing the line into like, disrespectful, this, that, and the next thing, I think it's just like, come on, bro. Like, yeah, you can be like, man, fuck that guy. But like, if your player did it after they'd scored to try to win the game or whatever, you'd be like, yeah, fucking get into him. It's part of footy.
Next game, Rabbitohs Knights. Felt this game didn't really get out of second gear, but Rabbitohs do the job again.
Yeah, real scrappy this game. Really scrappy this game. Look, I think the shining lights with Johnston. It's great. Wayne Bennett said after the game, it's crazy to think that they were going to move him on. He's a real modern, a throwback winger of like just a great finisher.
He's only 30 tries behind Nathan Merritt, and he's 26.
26. It's like he'll absolutely, if he stays at the club, if they don't try and fucking get rid of him again, he'll absolutely pass Nathan Merritt, which is an incredible feat.
So Johnston is on 121, and Nathan Merritt was on 154. That's crazy. Age 26, 121 tries. Incredible.
Look, Latrell had a few errors in him, but I loved Latrell's attitude. That's all that matters with Latrell. Is if he's having a crack, all that other stuff will sort itself out. And I love the fact that, although he made a few mistakes, he really was trying to impact the game. He was taking a lot of tough carries. I mean, when you see Latrell doing shit like that, you know he's in the right headspace. So for Latrell to back up, he's like one of the best performances I've seen from a centre in Origin, and then come out a couple days later and put on that much energetic performance shows you Latrell's in the right mind space. So I liked that. Again, yes, he did make errors, but he still ran for nearly 200 metres. And he was in everything, and he took a lot of tough carries. What else? Reynolds.
Dominic Young from the Knights, he had not the greatest debut a couple of weeks ago, so it was good to see him get over the line and have a good game.
Yeah, get over the line and score a try or whatever. There was a random stat from the random stats guy. I feel like we bring him up every podcast, where the number 21 is the lowest number he's ever played professional rugby league in. So over in the Super League, it's the shittest stat ever, but also the greatest stat ever. So over in Super League, he's like 37 and 36 or whatever, and then his last game in first grade was like 23. And then now he's number 21. That's the lowest number. What a stat, man.
Oh, the shitter the stat, the better.
Yeah, 100%. That's a fucking deep stat. Look, Saifidi coming back and putting in that effort. You always got to commend blokes that do that. Like, that's a true Origin player when you can come back to your club and give back to the club, because you missed last week for playing Origin. And so, I thought that was really good. But look, the Knights looked better. They didn't look anywhere near as bad as they looked, a couple of weeks ago. But, they desperately need Ponga back. Clifford was a little bit better this week. 665 kicking metres. He was, look, I think it's just going to be a tough year for the Knights. Like, I can't see them. I know when Mitchell Pearce comes back, it's going to change the energy of vibe of everything. So that's going to change a lot. Kalen Ponga is also a huge back. But I think that this year is a little bit of a step back for the team, unfortunately. Now, whether that's due to injury, I think a lot has to do with injury to key players for long periods of time. In saying that, you would have hoped they would have pushed forward. But I just don't know if they're going to make the 8 this year, unfortunately, which sucks for them.
They're sitting in 14th at the moment.
14th?
And with only 14th. And only 2 spots available left in the top 8, really. I think it's going to be hard for them.
It's a tough year, man. Tough year for Knights fans. I feel sorry for the boys. Hopefully they can turn around. Yeah, Rabbitohs, look, scrappy win. They just got to get on a roll and just start winning some games. So good. Salt, they got the win. That's all that matters, So, Broncos v Raiders, a similar situation. Look, I think Broncos fans need to accept that this is going to take a few years. This is not going to be fixed in a year or two. There were some seismic decisions that happened a few years ago that we're going to feel the effects of for quite a few years. It sucks. It really does suck. I feel sorry for the players. I think that they're just, they're a bunch of young kids that just, they've been thrown into the deep end, and they didn't have the right. A lot of those players will absolutely play in a long term. I just think a lot of them needed a little bit more time developing, and that developing under older, experienced players. Whereas right now, their whole squad, essentially, other than 1 or 2 people, young as anything. So tough gig, man. Honestly, I don't know what else to say. You don't want to bag anyone. You don't want to. There's players that aren't playing that well, but it is what it is. What's me sitting here? Carmichael Hunt's return was really good, but there's only so much he's going to do. He's fucking 35 years old. Like, it was awesome seeing him back in the jersey. So good. Had some, okay touches or whatever. Didn't really impact the game that much, but they were just dominated by a Raiders team looking to bounce back. Look, some shining lights for the Broncos would be Selwyn Cobbo. Again, I thought he did some okay things. Over 100 metres again, 3 tackle breaks, a line break. Tessie New at fullback, I thought he was pretty good, because I think he moved to fullback, and then Herbie Farnworth moved to the wing, I think. I don't know what to say. Like, we missed quite a few tackles throughout the middle. There's just not much to say. Like, it hasn't been said already. We're struggling. Some of the performances, aren't up to scratch. Hopefully Kevy can turn it around, but I do think that it's going to take a few years for the Broncos to turn around. On the flip side, great win by the Raiders. This is the kind of win that they absolutely needed. A big, big, strong win. Yes, it is over a club that's struggling, but a big win's a big win. You know what I mean? Like, put it this way. If the Raiders were going as good as we thought they were and they beat the Broncos by 38-16, everyone would say, oh, yeah, that's about right. Like, or maybe we should have beat them 38-6 or whatever. But 38-16 is a very dominant display. And so I think, as you take confidence from that, you bounce out of that, you bounce out of that into next week. You say, all right, look at these systems work. We understood we were playing a team that isn't a top-tier team, but in saying that, we put the score on them that we should have put on them. So going into next week, we're at the level we should be at. I thought Hodgson was really good. I thought Josh Papali'i back was fucking fantastic. I thought we saw that old, energetic Papali'i back.
He'll walk into the Origin side?
Oh, fuck. Absolutely. Like, he is just... When he's been the best front rower for at least the last 3 or 4 years. I'd say this year, Fisher Harris has just got him pipped. only because, Papali'i hasn't really played that much footy this year. But 178 metres, 57 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, a line break, 28 tackles, 1 miss, and a try in 50 minutes. Fuck. That's a great knock. So stoked to see him back playing well. Jackie Whiten was back better, playing well. I think Origin probably really helped his confidence. A try assist. Still had a couple errors, but look, you just want him back and confident. 4 tackle breaks, running the ball, 1 line break, a line break assist. That's what you want out of Jackie Whiten. So I think we're starting to see him progress back to where he should be, because he's the Clive Church, the Dally M Player of the Year. So I thought he had a good game. I thought Hodgson was really good. I thought Emre Gula was really good off the bench. 152 metres, 3 tackle breaks, a line break, 30 tackles, 2 misses. So, I think that was probably one of the better performances for the Raiders in the last, 8 weeks or so. Now it's all about next week for them, in the sense that it was the Broncos, they're beneath you should have beat them. How do we go against next week's team? Can we build on this and keep building on this? Because they're actually only 1 win outside the 8.
Next game, Warriors versus Storm. They're so good. They're so clinical, aren't they?
Yeah, I just recruit the Raiders. It's pretty bizarre to think they're 1 win outside the 8.
Crazy.
How good's that for them? Could you imagine if they made a run and made the finals?
Oh.
And they can. They're 1 win. And the teams are above them aren't fucking setting the world alight. Other 7 and 8, it's not like they're fucking so far above them.
No, it's an even playing field from 7th down. Yeah, crazy. It's hard to get it's so hard to get a read on so many teams at the moment.
Yeah, especially at the bottom of the 8.
I think everyone's pick for 7th and 8th, it changes every week.
Yeah, that's true.
Storm top of the table now.
Storm top of the table. Fuck. What do you say? What do you say? They are. Fuck. They are just so incredible. It's a joke. Craig Bellamy. It's getting harder and harder. I know it's me just saying Wayne Bennett's the GOAT because he was my coach, but his ability to just whoever they put in is a gun, and these aren't obvious picks. These aren't going and finding so the Roosters, their recruitment is a little bit different. They'll go and find the best guy coming out of school and throw everything at him and get him, which is smart. That's what you should do. Suwali and Walker. Storm get blokes that are very solid out of school. Very rarely do they get the best of the best out of school. I think his name's Jack Hallworth. He's a gun back rower. But very rarely do they get the biggest superstar. And they turn these players into fucking guns. Jerome Hughes was fantastic. It's a joke. He was a fullback 2 years ago. Now he's one of the best 7s in the comp.
What's your fact about Storm not signing big players since, who was it? Michael Crocker?
Michael Crocker in 2000 fucking... it was something like 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years since they've had a big signing. That's amazing. It's amazing. And also, no one wants to talk about it. Everyone's excuse for them winning all those premierships during the wrestle period was because they were the best wrestlers. The game has completely changed. In the first year that the game changed and the wrestle is definitely no longer a thing. Well, it's a thing, but it's not even it doesn't contribute to the winning of the game.
Yeah.
They win the comp. So the argument about the wrestle now is completely null and void. They won all those comps because they're fucking amazing, and Bellamy is a fucking genius. Jerome Hughes, 162 metres, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 20 tackles, 0 misses. Fuck. A try. It's just incredible.
I think you put up a post about Brandon Smith a week or so ago, but he scored 7 this year, 7 try assists and 9 break assists for the year.
It's incredible. Brandon Smith and Harry Grant are 2 of the most damaging. They're the most damaging duo in the comp right now. When they get on the field together, they're unstoppable. They're so fucking hard to stop. I thought Tavita Harris's fucking shot on Smith was fucking great.
So good.
And then Smith got straight back up, pat him on the back, got back to work, loved it. Brandon Smith is in a red hot bit of form. Matter of fact, you could argue he's the form 9 of the comp right now. And what's crazy is you've got Harry Grant fucking... Yeah. It's fuck. Honestly. speaks for itself. Like, we just say the same shit over and over with the Storm. You know what I mean? Every week. Holy fuck, how do they do it? Warriors, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, the Warriors just lost to someone, and someone commented like, oh, far out, like they just lost, and you're like worried about them or something along those lines, saying that we didn't give them enough raps because they only just lost. And this is what I was talking about. Like, there's just a bit worrying signs at the Warriors. They're not looking as clinical as I thought they would be at this stage of the year. I thought they would really progress from last year. Look, they're currently sitting 11th. So yeah, it's just I really thought they had built something special at the end of last year. I thought, fuck, we're going to see something pretty good here, and I'm just a bit concerned. I'm getting more and more concerned that the year is slowly slipping from their grasp. It's slowly slipping from their grasp. So again, it's hard though. Is it just Melbourne fucking so good? Because the problem is, it was 40-6 essentially with 5 minutes to go. It was 40-6. And then Maumalo scores a hat-trick.
Also good to see that we haven't spoken about this yet, that the Warriors will be returning home for round 22.
Really good to see. Round 22, RTS's goodbye game. So good. I'm so glad that the New Zealand fans get a chance to see him off. And the New Zealand club and their fans are owed so much after how much they've sacrificed for us to have this game. I'm just glad they get at least a small thing, and I hope the NRL repays the Warriors fans and the club, because they deserve to be repaid for the last 2 years. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about the Warriors and their fans deserve to be repaid, and I don't care whether it's they get fucking nearly all home games. To be honest, I would be okay with that, because 2 years they've had to do this, and they've just copped it. Like, the fans are what make the game, and the fans haven't been able to go and watch a game. Like, how fuck's that? So I hope they're repaid. I really, really do hope they're repaid. Tohu Harris again gets through a fucking million work. 51 tackles, only one missed. He was crazy as he's from a Storm system. Obviously, I think they miss Reece Walsh. But yeah, Storm too good, bro. Storm too good. Now on to Eels Tigers. This was a fiery match for how much the Eels ended up dominating. I think we've already really spoken about this, I think. We've spoken about the Eels side of things with Mitchell Moses and that. Isaiah Papali'i was fucking outstanding. The drop knee, really, really dumb. Is it the end of the world? Is he the grubbiest player of all time? No, he was clearly retaliating to there was a dropped forearm, was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Earlier in the game, there's a dropped forearm on Regan Campbell-Gillard. And I think so. Isaiah Papali'i was trying to get one back.
Yeah.
Look, it's grubby. It's not good. It's not whatever. It's all those things. But is it the fucking end of the world? No. Get his suspension or whatever, and let's just move on. He's a gun though. 137 meters. 12 tackle breaks. 12 tackle breaks. 29 tackles, 2 misses. Fuck. He's a gun. I thought Joey Lussick was really good. Especially with Reed Marnie. I just think it's a really good win for the Eels without that Reed Marnie, because he's such an important part of their team. I just think that Dylan Brown complements Mitchell Moses so much. Gutho was incredible, as he always is. 3 line breaks, amazing. Now, on to the Tigers. Fuck, man.
Say it every week.
I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what the answer is, because 1 week or 2 weeks this time, they were great. They were really good. And it was looking like, yes, here is a Tigers team that can make the top 8. Genuinely can make the top 8. And I just don't know. They fought back into it. They had barely any possession in the first half. So they showed a lot of grit to get back into it. And you could argue, yes, the guy was sent to the bin and 10 minutes for that. But they were still losing by a substantial margin when that guy got sent to the bin. So did it affect it? Maybe, maybe not. Even if you grant that it affected the team, at the same time, that wasn't where the game was lost. I think the game was lost in the first half. It's I don't know what to say. It's, yes, they losing Dwighty was tough for them. Billy Walters obviously hasn't played much footy recently with Luke Brooks, so that's not going to help. But it's just tough time. The Tigers' main goal right now, going forward, and it has been for ages, is just consistency. Like, they just got to find some way to be consistent. But yeah, you look at possession, 54 to 46%. Completion was 71%, so they didn't really help themselves there. They could have been, you want to be up around the 80. And then you can confidently say, look, we at least gave ourselves a chance to win. Missed tackles, 46 to 20. Now, you could argue that the 10 in the bin is what kind of caused that. Maybe, I'm not sure. You'd have to see where the missed tackles occurred. But regardless, like when you miss that many tackles...
Well, Para still had, they had 2 sin bins.
Yeah, exactly. So Para had 2 sin bins anyway. So maybe because I heard Michael Maguire talking about the fact that 3 tries are scored in that 10 is kind of like put into my head. But Para did have 2 sin bins, correct? Was it 2 sin bins?
Yeah, Sivo and Papali'i.
Oh, yes, it was. 2 sin bins. So, yeah, I mean, Papali'i was at the end of the match.
Yeah, I think there was only eight or so minutes left.
8 or so minutes. But I just think that if this was a one-off, you could say that. But this is a pattern for the Tigers where they just, if they got beaten 26 to 16 or whatever, you could be like, yes, yeah, that's about right. You know, top 4 side, Tigers, all good. But it was quite a convincing win in my opinion. So I'm not sure where they go from here, to be honest. But hopefully they bounce back because I imagine it's a really tough time for the Tigers at the moment. We aren't going to do the Bulldogs-Dragons game because it hasn't happened yet. So I'll talk about that on the review Wednesday, 3 p.m. with Hello Sport. Any more from you, Matty?
That's it from me. I've been searching the web. There's nothing
doing?
Fresh. Nothing fresh.
All right. Make sure to grab a case of Bloke in the Bar, guys. Oh, like and subscribe. Do all that shit, boys. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. And because even on our Facebook's algorithm has annihilated us. And I think it has happened to all news kind of pages in Australia. We're down 70% for no reason. Just fucking annihilated us. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube if you're not, so that you can stay in touch with all the latest podcasts and everything. Grab a case of Bloke in a Bar, supports the platform, grab a Bloke hat from bloke.shop. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.